morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever one applies to you. Today we start our latest round of Friends in Faith, and we're calling it Apologetics is Not an Apology. Now, you might be familiar with the word apologetics, but not sure what it means. The traditional definition has been how to defend your faith. Now, a lot of people say that. I'm not particularly in love with that definition because I think it gives the wrong impression. It gives the impression that we have our defenses up in front of us, and whoever attacks us, we're going to be able to push them back. Yeah, I don't quite see it that way. In fact, if you go back to original sin, it's kind of like after Adam and Eve's first sin and the fall of human nature and the separation from God, almost like the devil was given free rein. Okay, go ahead and do whatever you want on the earth. And up until the time of Jesus, could do almost whatever he wanted. And when Jesus came, he gave us this command, and it is the Great Commission, to go out to all the world and teach his word and baptize in the name of the Father and of the Son and of the Holy Spirit. So really, we're not supposed to stay back and defend. Forces of evil have to defend, because we're going to be out there witnessing to his truth and his life and his salvation, and they have to try to stop us. But the promise was the gates of hell will not prevail against us. So they're the ones trying to defend, and we're out there witnessing. And that's what apologetics is about. How we should witness to our faith when we're questioned. And people say, I don't understand this, or why do you believe this? And how to answer that. So in terms of that, then we'll be dealing with things about atheism, about Mary, about purgatory, about confession, about praying to saints, about the Eucharist, about the Pope, and so forth, and trying to give an idea of how to, I don't want to use the word defend, but how to witness to these things when they come up. And the genesis of this was a woman who came to me 2 months ago, and just at the grocery store, and she knew the checker, and somehow he realized she was Catholic, whatever she had on. And he started going on and on. Mary, how do you believe in Mary? And what did that? She said, I didn't know what to say. I thought, okay, maybe we need to address this. So, for day one today, we're going to be talking about atheism. And if you want to read more about it, there's this book, Atheist to Catholic, Stories of Conversion. Short book, interesting, but it's just about atheists who saw the light and became Catholic. Now, luckily for us, in our parish here at St. Philip, we have our own story. I introduce you to Carrie McCarthy, who has been Catholic now for about 2 years, and was a confirmed and proud atheist up until about 2020. And so today I want you to hear her story, and I'll ask her a handful of questions and she'll answer. Well, Carrie, first question is, what was life like as an atheist?
Life was fine as an atheist. I didn't feel anything missing in my life. I didn't have any holes or questions. I was extremely self-confident in my convictions, and I wasn't, to my knowledge, missing anything. I came up against a few hard things in life, tragic deaths and difficult situations, and none of those drove me to God, and I didn't think I was missing anything. I was quite smug.
I like the word smug, but something caused a change.
Yes.
Something got your mind working and say, okay, made you question yourself, maybe I've been wrong. What was that?
Well, as we all know, in 2020, the world came to a screeching halt with the pandemic, and I was really confronted with global evil on a scale I had never personally witnessed. I don't think any of us had. I'd certainly read about atrocities in the past, Mao and Stalin and such, and I'd encountered victims of evil crimes in my life, but it wasn't anything that felt so all-consuming as 2020 did, and 2021, the year that followed. And I was really confronted with the fact that there was an evil organizing force in the world. I couldn't explain it away anymore, that it was people making bad decisions, people with good intentions gone awry. it was overwhelmingly clear to me that evil was at work. And if that was true, then there had to be good. And I really first dove into rereading our founding documents of the United States as our rights were stripped away during that time, and realized and maybe was reminded of the fact that our founding fathers were overwhelmingly Christian, and that God is mentioned 4 times in the Declaration of Independence. And that led me on a quest to really learn more about God and the people who had expounded upon, religion throughout the centuries.
So on this quest, where did you go?
Well, I was challenged by a friend to read the Bible in a year. She didn't actually challenge me. She just mentioned that she was doing it. And I thought, well, I can do that too.
The book or the podcast?
Well, the book. She was doing a podcast, not the one from Father Mike. She was doing a different one. So I thought, okay, well, I'll read that again. I had actually read the Bible in college as a piece of literature. I was an English major, and never saw God in it then. So I thought, okay, I can do that. And then I went to the catechism next, because it was overwhelmingly clear to me that within the Protestant faith there were a lot of holes in the logic that I couldn't reconcile. So that drove me to the catechism, to the early church fathers, and I read everything I could get my hands on. And the rest is history, I guess. And I came to see you.
So what is your life these last 2 years as Catholic? What's that been like?
Completely different and amazing. Not that, no things have been difficult in life, and, life goes on and life has challenges, but my outlook on the whole world is so different. I, without a doubt, know that I am one created by God and created to love God and find the deepest happiness that I didn't know I was missing in worshiping God. It's been a blessing, to say the least.
Okay. Now, importantly, for the people watching tonight, 2 things I want to ask you, and then we can end with these. If they're ever speaking to an atheist, because everybody knows atheists, I have friends who are atheists.
Me too.
Yeah. But 2 things we want to know. One is what will just miss the mark completely when they're talking, say this or that, what just will be irrelevant to anybody who doesn't believe in God. And number 2, what would be effective in witnessing to faith? So 1, what doesn't work?
What doesn't work is telling somebody they're, doing it wrong and going to hell. That definitely does not work. Or that I also think, and this might sound strange, but people get really offended when you say, I'm praying for you, which seems odd, but if you are not a believer, it comes off as arrogant and silly and useless. And so the I'm praying for you comments offend a lot of atheists I know, and I used to roll my eyes at it as well. So any sort of outward prayers for people or judgment doesn't work. And I honestly think the most effective thing is to be a follower of Jesus. You may be the only gospel anybody ever reads, which is not my quote, but is I think really true. So I certainly encountered people in my life that sincerely did love Jesus, did not push it down anybody's throat, but lived their lives truly as children of God, and loved the Lord sincerely and wholeheartedly. They were rare and few and far between, but those people stood out to me as an example, as they had something I did want. They had something I did envy. They had something that I saw was intrinsically good and good for them. So I think loving God with all of our hearts is the greatest commandment, and that's the best way to lead people to Christ.
Yeah. You just described one of the stories in here, maybe more than one, but one about a guy who had a blog, The Raving Atheist. And he spent years in his blog being as vile and nasty as he could to anybody who believed in God. And in fact, he just called them, with no space, God idiots. And would do anything to mock religion, mock faith, mock God, mock Jesus, anything he could. And then, from another blog, he met somebody in the pro-life movement who didn't judge him, didn't do anything, just thought, well, she's good. And it was the goodness of the people he met through her that made the difference. So you've already touched on this, but last one, Ben, best advice then if somebody is speaking to a friend who's an atheist and what they should, how they should be, and you've already touched on. Can you expand a little bit more?
I think another thing that really affects people today is tremendous apathy and a lack of curiosity. And I think, you know, if we have atheist friends in our life or agnostic friends, people that are, you know, just not sure, I think asking in a non-accusatory way some probing questions help them to get to question things, help them to critically think about things, lead them to ask their own questions and do their own research. I think for today's atheist, there's a lot of pride and, as I said, apathy, but in order to come to God, you must humble yourself. You must know that you do not know everything. And so with friends or with family members that have not embraced God in their lives, I think some leading questions and conversations in a collegial and kind spirit can maybe help plant some seeds.
Yeah, you said something, just kind of quoted Socrates, the beginning of wisdom is knowing that you don't know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for a lot of atheists that have a lot of degrees from fancy colleges and who pride themselves on their knowledge, that's one of the biggest hurdles, I think, to realize maybe I don't have all the answers.
Yeah.
And that's something that comes with hopefully wisdom and maturity.
Okay, so, all right, Carrie, we could talk about this for an hour, but
Yes.
our groups need time for discussing. So I, like you today to discuss, friends and family members, who are atheists and how to approach them. And really, as Carrie was talking, spirit of humility and a spirit of love, not judging anybody and not putting them down, not telling they're stupid or, saying, oh, well, you're wrong and I'm right, which isn't going to get anywhere. Would that have ever worked with you?
Definitely not.
Definitely not. So good luck with your conversations, and if you ever need to talk to Carrie, who's now one of our confirmation catechists also, let me know, and I'm sure
Of course.
she would be willing to talk to you. It's one of the things we did immediately when she came to me, set her up with somebody who knew the faith well and could discuss it at a deep level with her. So good luck tonight. Thanks. Good night.